Good Friday to you. I'm Storm Team 9 Meteorologist Patrick Ellis here with your ENC Weather update for this February the 7th, 2014. A surprise snow event late last night across eastern North Carolina, mainly for our southern and eastern counties. Picking up a quick half an inch to 2 inches of snowfall across portions of the east, especially for Pamlico County. Seemed like they got the brunt of it. Got a localized spot of 3 inches in Pamlico County. So very interesting setup. We'll talk about that real quick, and then also look ahead towards the weekend event, and also look ahead towards next week's event that we've been kind of harping on and looking ahead towards, as things have kind of shifted around and still a lot of uncertainty in the forecast with this very active pattern that we have here across the eastern third of the United States. Here's a look at some of the snow estimates from last night, and some of these are true numbers and others are a little wonky here, but to give you an idea, the trace amounts, these are areas that saw a little bit of snow, but it didn't actually stick. We did get a report in Rocky Mount that it was sticking on the ground late last night. Greenville saw a little bit of a switch over to rain-snow mix with sleet mixing in, but it didn't stick. But it looked like basically Duplin, Jones, Onslow, Carteret, Craven, Pamlico, portions of Beaufort, and also up towards Hyde County got in on this last night. Also up to the north, we had reports into Bertie County, Hertford County, and also over into Chowan County seeing some snow late last night as well. Some other areas, really depending on where you were, there were two little bands that kind of set up, one to the north and one to the south, and right in the central areas, just nothing doing for us. And very surprised. It wasn't necessarily surprising. We did forecast for the potential, but it definitely overachieved what the forecast was. And the late models picked up on it literally too late, a little too late for the television side of things. But we did make the mention of it late last night, and even yesterday afternoon we did make the mention of the potential, and even going back into Wednesday as well. Just kind of looking back at some of the other things that happened. So looking at the satellite and radar, there's our system. It is offshore now. You see the clouds offshore. We had a nice day across eastern North Carolina with mostly sunny to partly cloudy skies. The clouds are starting to build back in now, and that's ahead of our next system that is gathering back off to the west. You see this river of moisture coming from the Gulf of Mexico all the way across the Florida Peninsula and up into the Atlantic Ocean. The next wave is getting ready to come across Mississippi, Alabama, Arkansas, Louisiana, and Texas this evening, and we'll be moving into our neck of the woods by tomorrow morning. Here's a look at the precision forecast model and give you an idea of what we're expecting overnight tonight. Little system will come across the central portions of Alabama, Mississippi, and make its way up towards us. I think the model may be underdoing the precipitation just a touch. We'll talk about that here in just a second, but looking at some of the thermal profiles, could see a little bit of a snow-sleet mix for our northern counties near the Virginia border. I don't think it's going to be a big issue. It looks like it's going to be a brief switch, if anything, before this thing lifts out of here through the afternoon hours. I'll tell you this, it does look like, at least for the coastal areas, it's a definite that's going to rain. Inland and maybe a little wishy-washy, but I do think that pretty much everybody's going to have a decent shot for seeing showers on Saturday. And a little breezy winds as well. Winds will be out of north about 10 miles per hour. And then we head towards Sunday. We'll go with a mixture of sun and clouds there, maybe a sprinkle or two underneath that. And then as we head towards Monday, you see that frontal boundary slamming through. Temperatures drop behind that, and then we get the moisture starting to ride up that frontal boundary. That's going to be another thing that we're watching, is what happens along that frontal boundary and the low pressure track as we head into the weekend. And this is Tuesday morning. The model is spitting out some snow back off towards the west. Now this is just one computer run, one model, and it's just kind of the beginning of what could happen as we head towards Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of next week. And this is what we've been kind of hinting at, and the area of low pressure is going to develop in the Gulf of Mexico. That's a lock, and we kind of see what we're doing with the jet stream. But there are 3 distinctive tracks that this system could take. One of them further inland, that's a rain look, a cold rain for most of us, and maybe some sleet in some areas. Another track, the central one, will be more of a mixture for our northern counties and a cold rain to the south, maybe some sleet mixing in there. And a further offshore track than this one, we're talking about all wintry and snow for the northern and central areas and a mixed south. And you take it even further offshore, and it's nothing doing. But it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. I think somebody's going to see something out of this. It's too early to tell what exactly, though. And these three tracks are kind of what we're looking at, because it could be 50s and rain here on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, or it could be 30s, snow and sleet, and 40s. So it's definitely a mess. We'll kind of break down some of this as we look into the models here in just a second. Here's a look at the 12Z GFS run. We're looking at Saturday afternoon. This run has a fairly strong low pressure system developing offshore, bringing showers into the region, and also a little breezy, especially for the coastal areas through the afternoon hours of Saturday. Temperatures will struggle into the mid 40s, if that, in some locations. Here's a look at the 4-kilometer NAM, and looking at tomorrow morning. It looks like that'll be a very wet look, but there is going to be that chance for maybe a little bit of a rain, snow, sleet mix up to the north for our northern areas before the freezing line gets out of here. But even then, it's going to kind of hang around just to our north, and may be able to switch some things around as this thing kind of lifts out, mainly for our northern counties. Once again, it'll be north of US 64 and possibly even north of US 158 through the afternoon hours. But you see how quick that gets out of here. By 6 o'clock, most of it's offshore, if not all of it's offshore. Now we're looking at Sunday, and everything's offshore at that point. 540 line basically bisecting the area, but we will have a little warmer air trying to sneak in here. It looks like the thermal profile should be enough to be able to afford at least the low to mid 50s that day, with partly sunny skies. Now temperatures could be a touch cooler if the 540 line does track a little further down to the south, but right now it does look like at least most of us will make it back into the lower 50s by Sunday afternoon. Could be a couple of sprinkles late Sunday night, and going into early Monday morning, but I don't think it's going to be that big of an issue. Monday, we will have a chance for a couple of light showers, mainly during the latter half of the day, closer to the overnight hours. And you see the system back off to the west into Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, and that is going to be our area of low pressure that we watch as we head towards Tuesday. Ribbon of moisture comes up off of that along the basically warm front, streaming across the central areas. And you see the 540 line bisecting the southern half of our viewing area. If that's correct, then we would be talking about the potential for maybe a rain, snow, sleet mix to start off even as early as Tuesday afternoon. Temperatures Tuesday not going to make it out of the low 40s, if that. And going back a touch, with that 540 line being across the state on Monday, we're not going to make it out of the mid 40s. But Tuesday, low 40s expected. We'll look at the surface output, and the GFS is printing some snow. And once again, from what we saw yesterday, it's a completely different look, because yesterday we were talking about ice. Now it's more of a snow look, and it's been wavering back and forth, and it will depend, once again, the track of the low pressure center of what we see as we head towards mid next week. Here's Wednesday, and this is got a very pronounced wedge setup, and on top of that, you've got warm air trying to come inland. You've got the moisture set up as well, and that looks like it could be another nasty type of situation. It will really depend a lot, but I think that's going to continue. That snow, sleet, rain mixture possibility will continue through Tuesday afternoon, Wednesday morning, and by Wednesday we will likely be somewhere in the low 40s once again. But like I said, the warm air is starting to come northward and retreating the cold air, and that would put us into a rain setup by Wednesday. The whole thing continues all the way through Wednesday night into Thursday. By Thursday afternoon, it finally starts to lift out of here. We get dry slotted, and things start to clear out, but there will be likely a lot of clouds and some cool temperatures. But you do see that 552 line edging northward. That's going to bring our temperatures up as well, back into the upper 40s that day. In a powerhouse system on the 12Z GFS, of a lot of cold air coming straight down the pipeline as another huge trough comes down. Right now, it doesn't look like we're going to... the models are just very, very interesting when we look at this far. That Friday could be a warmer day before this happens, and we do see that there is going to be a drop-off. Now, whether it's Friday or not, still to be debated, but you see a very strong area of low pressure up towards Nova Scotia and Labrador, 980. And that's a whole lot of tight isobars right between that and a 1028 high. Man, oh man, that is some breezy stuff. And a lot of cold air advection associated with that, but we're still a long way out from that, so we're just going to be watching the trends But I want to re-emphasize this Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday deal, very highly variable. Things will change. You have to stay up to date with the latest forecast. Obviously, we'll be here to keep you guys updated on everything, but the low track, the flow pattern, the timing, all of it going to be very, very pivotal to the forecast as we head towards mid next week. That's going to do it for me here on the ENC Weather Update. Stay up to date with us, Facebook, Twitter, WNCT.com, and our brand new Storm Team 9 app in the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store. Next update here will be live tomorrow evening. You guys have a great rest of your evening, a great day tomorrow, and a great weather week ahead.